Hi guys, welcome to We Are Tottenham TV with me, Barnaby Slater. This is the post-match fan phone-in after the Tottenham Hotspur 4, K-League All-Stars 3 pre-season friendly. It was another Ange Postecoglou classic, another goal fest. The least you expect from Sir Ange of Postecoglou. Some good performances in there, some pretty dog average defending, but I don't know, it's just fun to watch, and that's almost the most important thing, isn't it? I'll take you quickly through what happened in terms of the goals in case you didn't see. Decky Kulusevski scored the first in the 29th minute. That came from a Son Heung-min getting across the box, heading towards the right-hand side, getting his shot off, and it deflects back off the keeper. And Kulusevski just showed some desire and commitment to get a touch ahead and then get it into the roof of the net off the goalkeeper. That was 1-0. Then in the 37th minute, Sonny himself made it 2, cutting in from the left again where he was hugging the touchline all day and whipping his foot around it into the top left-hand corner. That was 2. And then just before half-time, 47th minute, Sonny made it 3. Little 1-2 with Decky Kulusevski, who'd been playing false 9 all game. Little nutmeg on the centre half just for the meme clips, and then slots it home. 3-0 at half-time. I thought, this is only going one way. It's going to be an easy second half. Well, then I forgot that I'm a Tottenham fan, and the K-League All-Stars scored 2 in about a minute, 51st and 53rd minutes. Then we made it 4-2, is that right? 4-2 then in the 67th minute with Will Lancashire, that's right, from a Timo Werner cross. Werner just got ahead of his man, left-footed cross, Lancashire with a good finish, and then a banger to make it 4-3 in the 80th minute. Goals, 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 but that's what you expect from Spurs. Let's get going with the fan phone-in, mainly because A, I want to talk to you, and B, this is the hottest studio in the history of time. Going to start with a man that I haven't seen for a while. Arian, how you doing, mate? Can I hear you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I'm just going to turn my volume up a little bit. But A, how are you? How's your summer been? And B, what did you think of that performance?
Good, doing great. Hope you guys, how are you doing? I haven't really tuned into the stream since they've been gone. It's the first
Four
time.
wins out,
So,
4 wins out of 4, mate. I'm doing great. 4 wins out of 4.
wonderful. Yeah, that makes 2 of us. Yeah, so I thought the game was honestly, especially in that first half, we actually played pretty well. And I think my it wasn't really a gripe, but kind of the observation I had with the first half is we're kind of dismantling this Korean side, and we really didn't get out of second gear to do it. And I think that's kind of what ended up hurting us in the second half, because whatever that second team was completely blindsided us, especially with those 2 goals in 2 minutes from that one dude. And I'm not gonna say the celebrations, God, did my head in, man. Fucking the stupid dancing, calling the whole team over in a preseason game to do it for like the whole ordeal takes like 10 minutes to do, but for both goals, pissed me off. But
For any of you that, sorry to interrupt, Darren, but for any of you at home who didn't see, basically, yeah, after every goal that the K-League All-Stars scored, they did basically get the entire side onto the touchline in front of the fans to do the like FIFA that stuff, and it was
whatever,
it
what
was a bit mortifying.
What pissed me off, because I get that it's preseason, but at the same time, it's like it is preseason. Like it just put it, go back to the kickoff and go again. Anyway, yeah. Look, I think we just didn't get out of second gear for the whole game, and that second half it hurt us big time. No matter really how many changes we could make, we just especially when they got into their groove, I think they were much more energetic than us. And I guess
They seem
the
to
fact
have a
that
lot more. They seem to have a lot more pace on the pitch in that second
Yeah.
half. They were kind of cutting us open, weren't they?
Yeah, they were big time, and I think the lack of defensive personnel, the lack of Mickey Van de Ven, probably especially stuff like that, hurt us big time. We couldn't get back and really defend. And I think Brandon Austin also didn't do himself any favors with that performance. Just stuff like that, and our defense was compromised in that second half, and we conceded 3. It's just that simple.
What have you been able to watch any of the other games, or is this the first preseason game you've really checked out?
I only missed the second half of the last one because I fell asleep because it's like 4 a.m.
Ange will not be delighted to hear that. But I guess the reason I ask is, I want to know who out of the kind of new signings, who out of the youth players you've been impressed with so far.
Bergvall.
Yeah.
Incredible. I honestly think he is. I'd start him. I would start him for the first game against Leicester. He has been magnificent. I'm watching with my dad, and he's like, this kid with the golden hair. Yeah. And I'm like, I know, he's incredible. Every time he gets the ball, of course he's going to make mistakes. Of course he has some short passes, but I think everybody has. has had those, and he is just incredible. I love watching him. I'm gutted every time I see him subbed off. I'm like, I want more. Him and I guess Gray as well. He's been phenomenal. I think today was probably his worst game of all the games I've seen him, which was weird because he's playing in this position.
Mm.
Not that he played, but just for some reason I felt like I left wanting more. Where with the
Yeah.
other performance, I just thought that he was f- almost flawless. But this game, I feel like he was just kind of not quite on it, but not really him. Just the whole midfield was a little bit again. I feel like second gear the whole time. But Bergval easily impressed me the most out of everybody. I would start him for sure. He has been just so exciting. Just anything he does it well. And there was one moment in that first half towards the end where he made this over the top pass to Johnson. It was offside, and I was just thinking, nobody in our team makes that pass besides him. Nobody, not
Yeah.
even Madison.
And who do you think then? You know, it's 3 weeks time. It's Monday night. Leicester away. You've already said, and I agree with you. Actually, I would start Bergvall mainly because I just think you just don't see many players who are as fearless and want to control the tempo
Right.
of the game as he
Yeah.
does, and especially at
Yeah.
that age. And I feel like let's not hold him back. Let's not hold him back. But who then in the three in midfield would you see him starting alongside?
I think as much as I want to see Gray start immediately, I think he's a phenomenal player. I thought he was great at Leeds. I don't think he's done, especially after that performance in the midfield. I'd have to see it versus Bayern to start him. I wouldn't start him in midfield at the moment. I'd probably just stick with Sar and then just Basuma, Sar, and Bergvall. That's probably I'd keep it simple there, honestly.
And then,
But I think what's end up
but
in
no
it.
room for Madders, Arian.
At the moment, no. At the moment, no. And again, second half Matters can easily come in and have an instant impact and shut us all up. But I
Mm.
think at the moment it makes this most sense. Or maybe even put him in there instead of Sar. I don't think Sar's been like a world beater any more than Madison has either. So I wouldn't mind it either way. I think Bergvall is more than capable of playing the box to box as Sar is. But I think for consistency's sake, you probably want to have Basuma and then Sar in because I know they're a great double pivot together.
Yeah.
Basuma Sar, Madison, Basuma Sar, Bergvall, Basuma Bergvall, Madison. Like that. But I think Bergvall has to start. I think he's earned it the most out of everybody per season. Next to maybe Kulusevski, but he's not a new signing.
Yeah, and Bentancur might even be back then as well to add to the mix. I mean, unless we sell him because he's now a racist fan abuser.
Yeah.
I I don't know for sure anything. I
I,
know. Well,
yeah.
what I can say is his joke was definitely a huge mistake. That was a big.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that.
That was racist. Let's face it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, and I can't let you leave, Arian, without saying, without mentioning transfers. Obviously, a lot of Spurs fans getting quite. Yeah, angry about the fact that obviously Archie Gray is really the only kind of transfer that we didn't know about that has come in. How are you feeling about it, and who would you like to come through the door between now and the end of the window?
I think the thing that is the most frustrating with the transfer window, and not our transfer, I don't think our transfer window has been bad. I think with the transfer window discourse is if you look at it in the league, you could make a case that Spurs have had the best transfer window in the Premier League thus far. You can't make that case because besides Aston Villa and Chelsea, there's not been much activity. And we all know how Chelsea operate, and it's not well. And I'm not very impressed with Aston Villa's window. I've never liked Amadou Onana as a player. I think he's overrated. I think 60 million is a ridiculous price. Like I think they've done very well to get Matson and Baranchea. But besides those three signings, who I think we can all agree are probably the better signings, the rest of them look like Ross Barkley, Lewis Dobbin, Philogene. Like they don't particularly impress me personally. I don't think they impress most players. I don't think most fans want us to be signing those players and decide, So you compare that to a window of Bergval and Gray. I don't think the gap in quality is massive there. People can look at Arsenal, look at Calafiori. That's their only deal this summer so far. Liverpool are yet to make a deal. Man City are yet to make a deal besides Savia, who they signed before the transfer window started, which we did with Bergval.
Yeah.
So you look at the Premier League, and also I guess Man United with Lenny Yoro and Xerxes, but Yoro's already just immediately gotten injured. So, and again, so besides them, and it's a close one, but you could make the case that we've had the best window in the Premier League. And you're with the whole window, oh my god, the signings are so late. That's gonna happen in a tournament window. We've seen it. Every single club,
True.
pretty much in the world, is having a slow window. As I've just said, I've listed out clubs. The best of the best windows, one or two signings that are decent. So quality takes time in a window like this. So you can't ask for quality. You can't ask, we got to sign the first choice players. We got to sign X, Y, and Z, and then be impatient because quality, especially in a window like this, takes time. Yes, we're running out of it, but it's special circumstances. Every club's running out of it. Every club's going to do a deal. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And I think our transfer window, last year in January and so far this window has been good enough for us to place the trust in the scouting team. In yes, Daniel Levy, I know, but I think he's earned this grace. He's earned this grace, and I'm willing to give him this grace because comparatively, we've been doing good business. We've been doing good business comparatively, so I'm staying optimistic.
And who, if you were gonna say, like last summer we had James Maddison as our big marquee signing, you know, a player that we beat other clubs who had finished above us to get. Who do you think might be our marquee signing this summer?
My heart tells me Eze. It just does. It just does. I feel like it's one of those players, a little bit like Madison, where I just feel like I can see him in a Spurs shirt. I can see it happening. Him or Neto, maybe both, if we all pray. Yeah, I'm gonna say Eze. I'm gonna say Eze.
Yeah, I've been saying all summer on my channel that I think Eze is going to be the marquee signing. I feel like that deal is done, and I feel like if Man City were going to get him, they would have already got him at this point. But who knows? Let's see what happens. Arian, mate, thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it. And I'll be back here on Saturday for the Munich game if you want to give me a call after that.
Yep, you know it. I'm gonna, of course, we're gonna be watching that game. Probably the most exciting game of preseason. So, of course, as always, come on, you Spurs!
That's it. I was waiting for that. Top man. I have to say, I had to let Arian get off the call before I said that it's fair to say the dangerous common sense that he was talking, the dangerous positivity, the dangerous optimism is being thoroughly abused in the comments. I saw stuff like, do you hear what you're saying? Says hysterical chat, lol. Although he does say, well said, Arian. Fair enough. Let's see what else I saw. Rob Domino, best window in the Prem. With what we're needing for next season, we are far, far behind Aston Villa and far behind others that have actually invested for the now. Richard Matthew, you're killing me. Morgan Kimuri says, this guy's crazy. I am a very positive Spurs fan, and I agree with Arian. I don't think we need to worry too much yet. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
On this channel, anything. Aston Villa will not finish above us, and if that happens, anything the top comment says under this video, if it gets uploaded, I will do live on this channel. I promise. I promise.
Okay.
It's
well, there you go,
video.
Arian. That is a bet right there. Arian has said that if Villa finish above Spurs, despite because of their many signings that a lot of people in the comments are suggesting means they're ahead of us, Arian will do whatever you suggest in this comments link. And we will make a note of that. Sam, the producer, will make a note of whatever it is, and Arian will do it. Arian, well done for sticking on, even though we thought we got rid of you. Very impressive, mate. I'll speak to you later on. Have a good day. Top man. Should also say while we're here, guys, make sure you press like on this video. Give this video a like. Let's get it up the algorithm. Let's get people watching it. Also, do press subscribe to We Are Tottenham TV. And my channel is also in the title as well, at @BarnabySlater_. I'm nearly at 10,000 subscribers. Help me get there. But next up, one of my favorite guys, the man with the microphone that I wish I had. Tip Top Tottenham is here with his Spurs shirt. How are you, mate?
Barnaby, you beautiful human being. How are you, my friend? I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. That was one of the most entertaining football matches I have maybe ever seen. That was so fun to watch. I want to get this out of the way at the top of my segment here. Son Heung-min in Korea just turns up every single time. It is unbelievable. Like the pressure, I can't even imagine, that he must be feeling on these trips to Korea, because it really, I'm sure, every moment is centered around him, and yet he still delivers every time. What a player. We are so lucky to have him in our club.
No, completely agree. So obviously we talked after the game on Saturday. Who impressed you today? Like, what did you think? What did you think overall of the performance? I mean, I know you said it's one of the most enjoyable games, but do you think Big Ange Postecoglou will be happy with that in terms of, I guess he'll be happy that we got the minutes in the legs. It's obviously incredibly hot there, and obviously the opposition once again are a team of players who are sharp in the middle of their season. But I'm sure you saw after 25 minutes when they had a drinks break, Postecoglou was right in on them, wasn't he?
So do you think amazing.
Do you think at the end of that he'll be kind of disappointed in the amount of goals we conceded?
I agree. Yes, he definitely won't think that we played perfect. I think that there is room for improvement for sure, but also I think it's important to remember that starting the game, even though we didn't concede as much in the beginning of the game, was Davies and Emerson, and we didn't have Romero or Van de Ven playing. So I think that may be a bit of the reason of why, if we had those two, obviously for the full match, we're not going to concede as much as we did today. So maybe that's an indication that we need more defensive depth. But overall, in terms of the players that stood out for me, other than this guy, Son Heung-min, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
Donley, I thought was fantastic today. Again, another left back performance was very mature. I felt like you had mentioned. I think he works really well in those tight spaces around a bunch of defenders farther up the pitch in that left back role, which I think is very, 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 very helpful to create moves in Ange's system.
Yeah.
And I think that's a quality that honestly is rare amongst players. You can tell that he's got that attacking midfielder background in his locker. So
Totally.
I definitely think that Donley is a player to keep your eye on at left back. I'm curious to see if that's Ange's plan for him in the future, or if that's just kind of an experiment that he's trying out right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I thought, obviously, he was very impressive considering how young he is, but I also thought Pedro Porro played really well, especially in that kind of first half. From right back, getting in those good areas as well. Obviously, we've got Bayern Munich coming up at the weekend. You'd think that would be a much sterner test. Although maybe the fact that we've been in kind of Japan and Korea a bit longer, haven't we? Maybe that'll benefit us in terms of fitness. What do you think about that game? What's your prediction?
Yes, that's a good point that you mentioned there about the time difference, because Asia is incredibly far from Europe. So I'm sure that does play a role in players' performance. I think it's interesting as well that we're playing them back to back, essentially. I think the first of the matches, you would assume that we would be sharper since we're going to be closer to where we've been playing matches recently. I'm optimistic. I'm always one to be optimistic as well. So I'm going to predict that we win 3-2. 3-2. We find a way. But I do think that there is more depth needed in our squad right now. I don't think that if we go into the season now, that we're going to be able to finish in a place in cup competitions and in the Premier League where the majority of our fan base would be happy. I think that we need to add another player in the front line, truly to get to the places that the fan base wants to get.
But based on what Ange said in his interview last week, I don't think anything's changed on that. He said, we've known who our targets are. Those targets are still available. It's just a matter of patience. And I feel like, to go back to Eze as an example, I do think it will be Eze in terms of the marquee signing. I think it's a matter of, Eze's only just come back from the Euros. They got to the final, so he's on holiday anyway, so he's not missing any pre-season. And then also on top of that, Crystal Palace need to find a replacement, not only for Eze, but also for Elise. And there are also links today with some potential movement. Villa interested in Mateta. And also Glasner, I think, wanted to go to Bayern Munich, but Palace wouldn't let him go. So there's a little bit of turmoil within Crystal Palace. And I think Spurs are probably having to be a bit patient on that front. And I think that's something that a lot of fans, like me, I used to play a lot of Football Manager, and on Football Manager you can literally just put in a bid and then it happens or it doesn't happen. But the reality is there are so many moving parts, especially when you're talking about how agents are involved on both sides now. There's the agent for the buying club, the agent for the selling club, and potentially the agent in the middle for the player. Just so many moving parts in these things that I think we have to be patient. And I know it's hard. I do understand it's hard. But I do think we'll get that player in. Are there any other players that you would be interested in us potentially bringing in as well? Obviously, there's been rumours of Jacob Ramsey in midfield. Looks like Conor Gallagher is going to go to Atletico Madrid. They've just had a bid of, I think, 35, 40 million euros accepted. Who else have you got your eye on?
I don't know the exact latest update of what the Ivan Toney situation would be like. But I feel like it's a bit redundant to talk about Eze at this point. I think it's almost unanimous amongst the fan base that that's the player that we think is special and would really add a lot of value to the club in terms of where we're trying to go. But other than Eze, I would say Toney I really like the look of. I think we need a player that is Premier League proven.
Right.
I think that's really the key. And obviously those players come at a higher price. I do think I am more critical of Levy than definitely Arian, and I think maybe you as well.
Sure.
It is frustrating, honestly, when you consider, what did we hear in the beginning of the transfer window? How we wanted to get business done early, and obviously we didn't know exactly what that would look like, but I don't think that our transfer window thus far has reflected that. And I would be, I would be thinking that we would have the available funds to be able to bring in a player that's Premier League proven in the front line. Some of the ones that we've been linked with, I don't think have had outrageously expensive price tags. And obviously it's kind of becoming a meme in the Tottenham community of where did the Harry Kane money go? Like we've all been saying a lot. I just think it is, like you had said, very difficult to sit back and just wait for something to happen when you feel like, and you look at the club's infrastructure and how, now we're the richest club in London, that we wouldn't be able to get stuff done, quicker with the type of players that you would need to challenge truly.
Yeah, but also playing devil's advocate, we're also the most in-debt club in the world. So you can't say one without the other. Like I know our debt is long-term loans that we pay back over long term, but they are still things we have to pay back every year with interest, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, I think as I said in the watch along, I always get a little confused when people say, where did the Harry Kane money go? Because I think, like I said in the watch along, I think we spent that money on Richarlison a year in advance because we thought he was going to be our number 9 to replace Harry Kane. Unfortunately, in that first year especially, he barely played any games, got injured a lot, got injured again and had mental health problems in the second season. He did go on a great run of kind of, I think, 11 in 12 at one point, showing that he can do it. But now there's some doubts over whether Ange wants him in the squad because he doesn't get on the pitch enough. For me, in terms of what you're saying, in terms of Premier League proven, and I get that, the only Premier League proven number 9 that I think we could get really is Tony, right? I mean, who else is there?
Or maybe Solanke, maybe? I'm not sure the availability of that situation either.
I like Dominic Solanke, but I do think I would not be surprised if the comments were, underwhelmed to say the least about Dominic Solanke.
Yeah, that's fair. But I do think, he adds quality and qualities that we don't really have in our squad right now. So I think the situation is definitely interesting, to say the least. But regardless of whatever happens, I think we do need to add at least, ideally 2, but at least 1 more player in the front line to improve on last season's result.
Well, I'm going to put my neck on the line, not quite as hard as Arian did, but I'm going to say that certainly by the end of the window, I think we'll have 3 new players, and I think those players will. And that I think those players will be players who will be, at the very least, challenging for the first team, not just players who are kind of young like Archie Gray. I think there's a big part of what's going on, which is having to spend a lot of time kind of clearing out the wage structure, clearing out the players who are just not, clearing out the wage bill, clearing out the players who are just don't have the attributes for Ange's style of play and for what Ange needs. And I think once they are all gone, by which I mean, from here on in, I think Royale will go soon. I don't think Lo Celso will be far behind. It wouldn't surprise me if he's not injured, if Oliver Skip goes, if we're able to get some more homegrown players in, and maybe a couple of others as well. Solomon maybe as well. Then I think the possibility of maybe bringing in 3 new players and covering off the kind of wages we've saved and adding whatever little transfer fees we get for those players into the budget. That's where I think that might happen. So I don't know who necessarily those players are. I think Eza will be one of them. But it wouldn't surprise me massively if it was like Eza, Tony, Neto, and we were willing to take we'd be willing to take a punt on Neto's injuries on the basis that we get Eza as well, because then you're kind of covering both sides. But like I said, I may well be wrong, but that's kind of where I feel maybe we're heading.
Yeah, I think that's a very bold prediction. I really do hope it comes true, honestly, but I don't think it will. But I really do. And I thought Arian's prediction was equally, if not more bold than that, because Villa finished above us like last season. So him saying there's absolutely no way it's going to happen again this season.
Yeah. One thing I just want to say about that, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to say it when Arian was on and I forgot, is that actually I don't think he's being that mad, because as we've seen with Spurs before, but you also see a lot with teams when they buy a lot of players all in one, kind of 7, 8, 9 players, it's very hard to integrate everybody into the group and especially into the first team. So that could be something that actually counts against them in terms of the stability of their squad and especially the stability of their first team as they enter for the first time kind of that Champions League, Champions League weekdays and Premier League weekends. So it wouldn't surprise me if they dropped off a little bit the same way Newcastle did last season. But anyway, mate, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. Give me another call in on Saturday after the Bayern Munich game, which you say Spurs will win 3-2.
Yes, I like that perspective. I think also, when we sold Gareth Bale, it was similar how we bought a bunch of players and it didn't end up working out in the best way. But yes, great talking to you as well. Thank you so much for the time. I have a YouTube channel as well. If you like my perspective, I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee, in the United States. I'm close to 500 subscribers here. I'm like 20 away, and that's my goal. So if you like my voice or want to hear more from my perspective about Spurs and football, then check me out. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Top man. Thanks again. Speak to you on Saturday, mate. And yes, everybody at home, make sure you do subscribe to Tip Top Tottenham. He's trying to get to 500 subs, which is no mean feat. Make it happen now. Press that subscribe button. Tip Top Tottenham. Also, guys, do subscribe to... I'll see you on Saturday, mate. Thanks a lot. Do subscribe to We Are Tottenham TV. Smash that like button. We've got over 400 of you watching live now. Press subscribe to them and subscribe to me as well at Barnaby Slater _. I'm trying to get to 10,000. I'm nearly there. It's in the title. Barnaby Slater _ 10,000. But now, Brian, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Yes, 4 out of 4. Happy with that. It's fun to watch Spurs again. Obviously not as nail-bitey as it would be if that was a Premier League game, but that's what pre-season is for, right?
It is what pre-season for. Before I say anything, I very much look forward to our discussion on transfers and how it's going. I very much look forward to that segment of the chat. Listen, the first half, real bright spots. Kulusevski again, who I will say again, I've been very critical of on the playing out wide.
Yep.
Played central again, 1 assist, 1 goal. You can't argue with that. That's what he's there to do. It's what I've wanted to see. I've seen it again, so it's a fair play to him. Sonny showing exactly why he says I need to play on the wing. He has to do that. And Jamie Donnelly was here, there and everywhere, always looking for that forward pass, always running to make himself available. I think he was outstanding in that first half, probably the best player on the pitch, if I'm honest. The second half, where the kids have come on recently and stolen the show, that second half was very meh to me. Don't get me wrong, there's some good passages and everything, but I think the heat, the humidity, and it just shows that pre-season, like you said, is there for a reason. It's fitness and everything, and there's still work to do. But there are some bright sparks in that game, just nothing like the previous 3.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure you heard me say I thought at 3-0 up it was going to be an easy second half, and then the K-League All-Stars made some changes, didn't they? And we couldn't really handle the pace. I agree with everything you say about Jamie Donnelly. I thought Pedro Porro looked good in the first half as well. Took up some really good spaces. What did you make of our new boys, Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray? I'm basically in love with Lucas Bergvall. Just wondering if you are as in love with him as I am.
I don't get me wrong. When we actually signed him, I can't remember a young talent that we'd... And I'll be honest, I hadn't heard a lot about him before we signed him, but then obviously as we did, and we've all seen what YouTube can do with compilations and these people on X, they can make people look good. But what I love wasn't just the flicks, some of his vision, some of the passes he pulls off. I think Arian was saying it as well. You don't see... We don't have the players making these passes or the eye for it or even the balls to try it. So exactly. I've been very impressed with what I've seen on him. Obviously, he's got a long way more to show, but he excites me. He's a player that I've been saying for ages. I can't remember the last time Tottenham Hotspur had a player that when he got on the ball, like a Gareth Bale, like a Ginola, like a Gaza, where you thought you're moments away from something happening, something out of the ordinary could happen. We haven't had that recently, and he's given me those kind of, nowhere near the people I just mentioned, but you can see it in him. He may have the ability to do that. As for Archie Gray, I've been super impressed with him. I think it may have been Tip Top Tottenham or yourself, Barnaby, or maybe even it was the quietest of the 3 games he's had, but he's come in at an 18-year-old, and I think we've got a star in him. I think we've got an absolute star in Archie Gray. And like I said, Lucas will develop. There's no doubt the talent is there. and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm impressed by, not just their obvious talents and skills and potential, but also that it seems like for the first time in quite a long time, there is a through route between what the coach wants and needs in terms of attributes of players and what the recruitment side of the club are getting for him. And also, I really like the fact that Ange has his veto and clearly does see it as important to get to know and get to grips with what the attitudes are of these players too. And that's why, actually, I'm also always slightly unsure whether Ivan Toney is a realistic signing for Spurs, because I'm not sure whether Ange... I don't know what kind of phone call they'd have, but everything I've heard, the rumours I heard, is that Arsenal basically got into talks with Toney and didn't really like the way that he came across. But anyway, like I said, the through route of the recruitment side, I'm impressed by, and I guess that's a good segue to talk about, as you're keen to, transfers. And I have certainly noticed on Twitter over the last few days that you are getting increasingly annoyed about Tottenham's transfer policy at the moment, or strategy. So tell us your feelings, Brian, mate, and let us know for sure.
But I haven't been getting annoyed at all. I've been mainly joking about the ITKs, going, oh, we're one step closer. Oh, we're closer and closer. One more step, this, that. And the transfer, I will get into transfers, but this summer, I'm not listening to any of the ITKs. I am laughing at the rubbish. I've taken a step back from what I did last summer and not jumping on every little thing, blaming a certain person for every little thing. I'm joking with that. But we'll get on to transfers now. So first of all, Ivan Toney update. The replacement that they wanted for him has been ruled out till late 2024. Yeah. So the one that was coming in, whether that's going to kibosh what goes on with us with Toney, but their replacement, I'm going to start there. I'm going to start with what Arian said. I'm sick and tired, not of Arian, of people saying, oh, well, no other team's spending. The teams above us don't need to spend or need so many key players as we do. This transfer window is used, the whole process of it is to strengthen your team to compete with your rivals and do better than you did last year. So when we hear Liverpool haven't made a signing yet, that Liverpool team just needs a couple of tweaks. They needed their whole midfield restructured last window. Bang, they went and addressed it. Manchester City, yeah, they've hardly spent apart from that winger. Man City have been walking the league for 4 years. Man City are in a place where they'll identify a player in one position they want to improve on, and they'll go and do it.
Yeah.
Oh, the filth down the road. Last season, they only needed, or their main thing was to go get a defensive midfielder or someone that could run that midfield. Bang, 100 mil. Then you look at these teams that do it. We need more than one position. We need more than what they need. They'll go out and address the situation and get it done. Now, when it comes to outgoings, I think we've done very, very well. Obviously, we haven't sold the players at the peak of their powers and got the best money we could for them. Their contracts have winded down. So we're getting them off the book, getting them off the wage bill. Tottenham have done magnificent. Levy's done, I'll even say it here. The club as a whole, including Daniel Levy, so everyone who says that I don't give praise, check it, I'm doing it right now. What the club have done to get these players out, they have done very well and better than before, ever, under this man's ownership. So there's praise for that. But when I hear now that, like you said, Barnaby, we've got loads of debt, we're the most in-debt team. Correct, but we were told we've done it over a very, very long term on low interest, so it doesn't affect how we compete. So you can use it one way to say, yep, we've got a lot of debt. Everyone's got debt, and obviously player transfers per year, paying instalments. Yeah. Everyone's doing that. But people can't use we've got so much debt for the stadium, because the way that we've been told that debt has been paid over a long term was to benefit the first team and not affect transfers. So you can look at it, and like I said, with these other teams, they'll just go and get the 1-2 players they need. And the biggest thing that's really annoying me, when people start saying, well, these other teams have got to find their replacement. These other teams, they're not selling before they find their replacement, which is the bang-on correct thing to do. Do Tottenham Hotspur do that? Do we bring our replacement in for that player that's leaving and then sell them? No. When Ericsson left and we wanted Bruno Fernandes, We didn't just sell him to Inter Milan and use that. No, the money has to come in. So when people are saying that the teams are looking for their replacements, those other teams are doing absolutely everything correct. Of course, it's why we didn't get Van der Ven sooner, because Wolfsburg wanted the replacement in. So they knew he was there set in stone to let him go. So when I hear that used as a reason, the selling team, like a Palace for Eze, absolutely bang on. Go get your replacement. That's what a football club should do. If a player is outgoing, make sure you get the incoming first. You know that is covered. And then sell the player. But we don't do that. You look at it. Kane, replacement, you could say with Charleston. Look how long for Eriksson, Maddison. Look how long for Vertonghen, Van der Ven. Look at Carl Walker goes. Perfect example. We go, Trippier was there. But then we go for Aurier, we go for Emerson, we go for Doherty, we go for Spence, who is improving incredibly, and then we get Porro. That's 5 alternatives to replace probably the best right back in the league, bar Gary Neville. Why are we selling them buying rather than getting the replacement in? And like I said, I'll go back on it. The incomings we've done exceptional. Sorry, outgoings.
The outgoings, yeah.
We've done exceptional. But I don't like it when people use these. And by the way, it's not me having a dig at you or anything, but when we look at it as a whole and people say, well, we're waiting on the other teams to sell, the teams are doing it right. We just don't do that. When people say the debt, we were told it was stretched out for a long time, so this wouldn't be a factor.
Yeah.
And then other teams going, when the big six haven't spent, it's because they're above us and they've got their positions. They just need to go and top up with a 1 or 2. We need more than 1 or 2.
Yeah. Just to play devil's advocate, like you said, you did mention, I'd say Richarlison, I think, and I'm not suggesting this went well, but I think was Kane's replacement. I think, if we go back as far as the Bale replacements, we did do it that way. So I think, it's kind of a mix. We don't always do it well, and we certainly don't. We don't always do it. We don't always do it, but we certainly don't always do it right. That's for sure.
That I will say is technically wrong, and the reason I'll say that is AVB wanted the Hulk, he wanted Matinho, he wanted others, but Baldini and Levy said, we bring the players in, you coach them. And then obviously, but listen, I'm not putting that on Levy, I'm putting that solely on Baldini.
Yeah.
Like
I said, they don't always do it. They don't always do it, but they certainly don't always do it right. So I'm not against you on that.
Correct.
What I'd say about the debt thing is, and it's just devil's advocate, and I'm not a finance guy, so I don't know. But what I would say is, back in the day when we were building the stadium, and Daniel Levy said, building the stadium will not affect our ability to get transfers in. It very clearly did, and I've always said, I think the reality of that is that in terms of business speak, he had to say that. He had to say it won't affect things, because otherwise the vultures would have snooped around Harry Kane and Dele Alli and whatever, Eric Dyer and Christian Eriksen and whatever, right? And all I'm saying is, and I'm not saying it's right, I think the same thing is happening with the long-term debt, which is they cannot come out and say it's not going to affect us. But what they can't do that, but it will affect us. And I think and I always come back to this, which is Arsenal moved into the Emirates in 2006. They didn't spend proper money. And they hardly spent any money, but they didn't spend proper money till 2013 when they bought Mesut Ozil. And then they didn't spend proper money until Nicola Pepe, which I think was like 17 or 18 or 19 for 75 million. So what we're looking at with that is a minimum of 7 years from the Emirates going up to them being able to make the most of the Emirates. And what I would also add to that is around the Emirates, I'm sure you've been around there, they've got thousands of flats. They've got thousands of flats that they've been able to sell. And then at Highbury, where they used to be, they've got hundreds of flats that they've been able to sell. So a big cash cow there that they had. Now, Spurs also have a big cash cow, as we know. The stadium, the concerts, the F1, go-karting, blah, 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 the things that everyone gets pissed off about. All I would say is I don't think Levy can come out and say we're not going to be able to spend as much as we want until, let's say, minimum 7 years, and we're at 5 years now. But I do think that if we're able to be patient, that will come, but it's not, I just don't think it's there yet. And one thing I will say against Levy, which I haven't said much, but one thing that he has done that I think has been more pragmatic than he should have done, and we needed more of, is he has constantly kept us at, I think, the 6th or 7th highest wage bill spenders, and he doesn't want to go above that. And the reality is, the sad reality is, until he is willing to go higher than that and break into that top 3, it's going to be very difficult for us to win the Premier League. That is a fact.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I'm just well, like you said, what you said about him coming out saying it won't affect transfers. You're right. He should have cut. But what I will say, you used the Emirates. I'm glad you did because I was going to. When Arsenal moved into the Emirates, Arsene Wenger came out publicly and said, right, for the next few years, this is going to be hard. We're going to have to sell players. Players are going to leave this club.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do things difficult. Players will leave this club because we have to pay the debt. We got told the opposite. And he could have come out and said, listen, miscalculations, whatever, it's going to be a little struggle. But then, like you said, you mentioned the flats. During those years at the Emirates when it first came up, they didn't have NFL. They didn't have boxing. They had the odd concert. They didn't have the multiple events. They didn't have a skywalk. They didn't have. So you're right in what you're saying. When Arsenal came through, they had to go through some struggles. But Wenger, and I always praise Wenger for doing this, he came out and said to the Arsenal fans, right, guys, listen, I'm telling you now, the next few years, until this debt's paid, we're going to see players leave. We have to get this debt done. But once the debt is done, you'll see the change. Obviously, it's taken Arsenal till now to get there and see some real impetus. But at least Wenger had the balls to come out and say it.
Yeah, but the Arsenal fans turned on him for it, though, didn't they? Like in reality,
did in the end.
Yeah,
they did in the end. But look what, look what he gave them in the first 10 years.
I agree.
That's
Unbelievable.
the thing. You can't take away, and still they were winning FA Cups. Because I don't want to make it too much talk about the filth.
True.
I just think these incomings, going back to the game, I think it just one of the things that did concern me and I'll link it to the transfers is, yes, it was only a pre-season. Yes, those players aren't there, but thankfully Van de Ven and Romero will be back shortly. But what does still concern me is how easy it is to get to them.
Yeah.
That second half, and that was a Korean all-star team, I believe. They cut through that midfield like butter. Yes, we didn't have our first team midfield out or in the second half, but it went to show that with the fullbacks still going forward, it's very, very easy to get to the back two. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Romero and Van de Ven are one of the best partnerships in the Premier League, and two of the best defenders individually, but they need help from the midfield. It cannot be that easy come come Leicester in the season going forward.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get that addressed. But
can I ask you a quick question just before I let you go, Brian? Just relevant to that.
Yeah.
Is that why we have been interested all summer and longer in Conor Gallagher, and why we're now interested in Jacob Ramsey again as well? Because in terms of running backwards on transitions, they are workhorses who will put the effort in and are maybe arguably a bit quicker than Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been very open with I don't want Conor Gallagher at the club. I don't personally think he's all that. But Ange Postecoglou loves him. And I will say, and I've always said this, I may not want him or appreciate him as a player, but if you look at the attributes Ange wants for that role, Conor Gallagher is pretty much the kind of type of midfielder you're looking at. Listen, I don't want him, but if we do get him, I'll support him. But the most telling thing, if he does come to Spurs, is Ange wants him as his number one target. And if he does come in, whether we appreciate the signing or not, Ange would have got his first pick of a player. Yeah. Maybe a little bit too late or whatever. But you can see, going back to that, Barnaby, to put it all together, you can see why Tottenham and Ange Postecoglou could be looking for that type of midfielder, because I think we were just exposed too much. But I also think Archie Gray, with experience, could do that job. But I think we need one more in midfield.
Yeah, I think good news for you, Brian, is that it looks like Gallagher's going to go to Atletico Madrid. But, mate, thank you so much for calling in. I will be here again on Saturday. Give me a call again then, and have a great rest of your week.
Of course I will do. And as always, Levy out.
Top man. See you later. Guys, I've got one more caller. KPV, how are you? I'm going to have to keep it relatively short, I'm afraid, because I'm burning up and I need to make a train. But let me know how you feel about today's 4th victory in 4.
I feel really happy. And, yeah, brilliant win. 4 wins out of 4. Great win. And great win in Korea again. We won there 2 years ago under Conte. we beat this team we just beat. We beat them 6-3 2 years ago, and we beat them again. So we're their bogey team for somehow. Like we Man City's bogey team, but we're this team's bogey team. That's all I can say. But yeah, can't stay on here too long because my phone's gonna die soon. So, but all I can say, great win and bring on Bayern Munich. But Kane's not going to play, but I know Dyer is, and they're going to be us. I know they've got that ex-Gunner with them. Gnabry, he's going to try and score again, but I hope not because we've got Vicario, who I think will hopefully save some goals. And but yeah, it's all I can say. Great win and bring on Bayern Munich. Time for
What's
some
your
revenge.
prediction, KPV? What's your prediction for the scoreline against Bayern Munich at the weekend?
I'm probably going to get roasted, but I'll say 4-1 Tottenham. And
Why not?
hopefully Son to score 4 because
Yeah.
he's done it against Southampton. Kane got 4 assists, so but hopefully we win 4-1 and then we've got them again afterwards. So 2 times. I think we've got them in Korea, haven't we? Then Tottenham afterwards. So
That's right.
look, yeah. So if we could beat them 2 times, they'll be happy. So 4-1 in Korea, then 4-1 at home. So you heard it here first. And thanks for having me on.
8-2 on aggregate, which would make up for the, was it not 7 or 8-2 that we lost to them at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium the other year?
We lost 7-2, and then we lost
7-2.
3-1 in Germany. So that was 10-3, basically 10-3 on aggregate. But
It's a revenge
yeah,
mission.
Your revenge mission. I'll see you Saturday, mate.
Top man KPV, have a great rest of your week. Guys, thank you so much for all tuning into this show. Please do give the video a like, press subscribe to We Are Tottenham TV, and also you'll see in the title my channel's handle as well, at @BarnabySlater_. Give me a little subscribe. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. It'd be really helpful. But another Tottenham Hotspur win. More goals for Ange Postecoglou and against Ange Postecoglou. And we will be back with another watch along for the Bayern Munich game on Saturday. Tune in then and have a great week.